assigned to me to look this guy up. So I did. And some of it's not good. Orland B. Lane was a Civil War veteran of the Navy and served on the gunboat Chicoro. He and his wife, Sarah Hooper, lived at 6 Hickory Street in 1880, and he was a quarryman, and Orland was a quarryman. In February of 1878, the Cape Ann Advertiser article titled "Lanesville and Bayview Brieflets" tells us of an unusual mortality rate of children in the ward. Diphtheria had swept away 21 children under the age of 9, 18 of them under 5 during a 5-month period. The Lane's 1-year-old daughter, Ida J., was one of them. On July 16, 1891, the Springfield Republican reported Orland Lane of Lanesville assaulted his wife and daughter with a flat iron yesterday morning while temporarily insane. The women were severely cut about the face and head. Timely interference by the neighbors saved their lives. Lane was locked up. Orland is listed in the 1900 census as a resident of the Danvers Insane Hospital. His death certificate lists that he died March 10, 1907 in that hospital. On a brighter note, his son, right here, Louisville Bradshaw Lane, was quite a character, and it's in Barbara Erkler's, I think it's in Barbara Erkler's book, is it? Yeah, and she wrote a story about him. And this is where I got some of this information. In Erkler's 1957 article in the Gloucester Daily Times, she describes Louisville, born in 1871, as a poet and a plumber, becoming an informal consultant in Richmond, California, when he moved there. He got in his 2 cents on the installation of a sewer system and plumbing, boasting that he found more diamond rings and false teeth than anyone he ever heard of. She tells the story of Louisville traveling back to Lanesville each summer, first getting lost along the way and almost going off a cliff, driving his Model T, and then later biplane. Louisville helped rig the first gasoline engine at Lanes Cove. He died in 1957 and is buried in Union Hill Cemetery, Brentwood, California. Today, as we drive through Lanesville, it's hard to imagine. Oop. Back one. Back. Back. Keep going. One more. Now you got a preview of what's coming. Today, as we drive through Lanesville, it's hard to imagine that a lot of the area here was farmland. The residents of Lanesville needed to grow their own food and keep livestock to feed their families. To that end, pastures were very important for grazing. And there's 5 pastures listed. Here's a list: the Plum Cove pasture, Granny Pierce's pasture, Nathan's Todd's sheep pasture, Coffin's pasture, which is, a lot of it's in Bayview, but I think some of it's in Lanesville. We'll claim that anyway. Folly Point, AKA Folly Cove pasture. Several familiar names are connected to the Plum Cove pasture: Lane, Sargent, Saunders, Todd's, Tucker, and Woodbury. Part of that pasture became the ball field, and eventually the Plum Cove School was added. There's a story about objections raised regarding the plan to build the trestle for the electric trolley, which impacted the private property and the grazing of animals. The trestles were built in order to be removed. It was submitted in 1893. It was taken down in 1900, and the track set to the street grade. Folly Point was owned mostly by the Woodburys. The Woodburys owned a lot of land in Lanesville. We could have been called Woodburyville. That's how much land they owned. On December 11th, 1894, 16 acres of the Folly Point pasture was sold by the Woodburys to Horace W. Taylor. That property passed through many owners and ended up in the hands of Breakwater Construction and Engineering Company in 1906. At that point, they started quarrying granite on that point. Langsford Oak Grove. Now, this was the place to party in Lanesville. This is it. This place was by where Cogshell Road is, and probably parts of it into where the cemetery is, the Seaside Cemetery. And it went all the way to the ocean. This is the place to be. Newspaper ads in 1871 described the grove as well covered with a growth of oak trees. Is pleasantly located on the seaside and commands all the convenience for rural parties. Lane's villains held picnics, parties, dances, sports events, festivals, and served refreshments of all kinds, according to Mr. Warren Lane, who understands his biz. Flyers advertising the Grove will be illuminated in the evening with bands playing music by Proctor & Story's band from Essex. Ladies are cordially invited. Tickets for gents, $1 to be had at the entrance gate. See the still behind that picture? Timothy and Julia Cleary of High Speed made liquor to sell. They accused Patrick Tobin of stealing a Finn's whiskey. Mrs. Cleary took offense at that theft and was said to have hit Tobin in the head with a stove lifter. In the yard, Mr. Cleary jumped on him and knocked him senseless. A second attack knocked him down when one of the Clearys threw a culpaver at him. The Clearys were charged in the incident. Mr. Cleary was released while Mrs. Cleary was found guilty and fined $50 and 3 months in jail for each charge after the Finns testified. Translators were needed for the Finns' testimony. That was in the newspaper. Let's see, before I wrap up these couple last things, I couldn't have done this without me. I can research everything, but she's the one who designed this. She's the one who helped me put all the frames together. And we argued. I don't like that. She said, but it looks better this way.
It stayed that way.
And I have to thank my mother-in-law, Nancy Parnell. She did an amazing job transcribing John Lane's probate record, which lists all the division of his land and his inventory